My name is Dr. Gary Moore, Director of GPA Mobilization Ministries. Over the last few years, I have spent a lot of time in Central America, and it has changed me. I have seen so many families with such great need that it breaks my heart more than I can say. Many have no electric or water in their homes. Their clothes are ragged. Often there is not enough to eat, and many will spend their whole life and never see a doctor. Short-term missions is great, and we have touched many lives. But I just know in my soul that it's not enough. We have to do more, and we must do it better. I believe God has given me a vision of what could be done with a mercy ship, with a clinic right on board, room to carry a tent for evangelistic services, supplies for the work we must do, and the people to do that work who will, for up to 10 weeks, live and work from the ship. The first step for a mercy ship voyage is recruiting. We need 16 interns and young adults who can spend 6 weeks on board ship to make up the evangelistic team. Jim and Derek Rowland have the task as evangelistic coordinators of visiting churches, Christian colleges, and universities to recruit those needed for the first trip. They are looking for faithful young adults committed to the cause of Christ and willing to make the sacrifice with 6 weeks of their lives serving the broken and needy in what is some of the most poverty-stricken areas of the world. These young people will be coming from all over the country. The evangelistic coordinators also have the responsibility of recruiting 2 couples for each port of call to serve as team leaders, one for the men, another for the women. In order to provide a medical clinic, we need doctors and nurses. And we will be looking to veteran short-term missionaries for our first trip. Even though we will have some medical students on board for the entire voyage, our professional medical team will fly into the first port of call to do their work and then return once the first clinic is finished. I can see Dr. David Rooney and nurse practitioner Judy Gilowalski leading the team, Kathy Coward and Diane Boyd assisting as nurse and in the pharmacy. With the experience they have on the field, they will be right at home working from the ship's clinic. My heart burns for you to catch this vision with me. So for the next few minutes, let's take what might be the first voyage of this ship of mercy. The ship will be in port in Tampa, Florida, and on this trip, we will be traveling to Port Limon in Costa Rica for 17 days of ministry, and then from there to St. George's in Grenada for a second port of call and another 17 days of ministry there. The excitement begins to rise as the evangelistic team and the first team leaders arrive in Tampa and meet Todd and Pam Kirkendall, the ship's ministry coordinators, to prepare for the first departure of the mercy ship. Todd will serve as pastor and spiritual leader for the evangelistic team for the next 6 weeks. His teaching and spiritual guidance will serve as the unifying factor for the team. Finally, the day has arrived that we have long awaited. Our first departure from Tampa and our first opportunity to serve as a mercy ship. The 2 days at sea will not be wasted. Apart from team worship and Bible study, there will also be a time for specific training to prepare the group as vacation Bible school workers, soul winning, counselors for the invitation, and also a crash course on a few important Spanish phrases, some cultural insights, and of course, choir practice. Now we are here and ready to get to work. It's time to meet the missionary families we will be working with. Alex Melendez, Alex Araya, and Guillermo Rojas. Several of the men will spend the first 2 days offloading the ship, setting up the tent, stage, sound system, and the other things needed for the work of VBS and evangelistic meetings. Others will be involved in canvas visitation, street preaching, and working with local mission churches getting ready for the 8 days of clinic and meetings. Sunday morning arrives and everything begins. The medical team arrived on Saturday and will spend the next 8 days holding clinic from on board the ship. The evangelistic team is ready for Sunday worship, evangelistic preaching, and children's ministry every day and evening till next Sunday night. Patients flood the ship each day. Hundreds hear the gospel for the first time, and the workers start early and end late day after day as God uses them as His hands, feet, and voice to the poor who need to hear the gospel. The clinic and scheduled meetings come to an end, but the ministry continues as the evangelistic team visits in homes with follow-up on professions of salvation. Then leaders work with the local missionaries to prepare them for further follow-up and assisting those who have been helped by the medical clinic. Monday, the first medical team returns home, and everything is now taken down and returned to the ship to be packed up for the next leg of the trip. After 2 days at sea, we arrive at St. George's. The team starts again in preparation for the work and is met by Dennis Celestine, Michael Lambert, and Pastor Houston. One difference here will be that clinic will run 4 days from the ship, but the last 4 days clinic will be in the town of Mama Cans, about an hour from the ship. The evangelistic and VBS tent will be set up in St. George's, but transportation will be provided so that hundreds will come in from the surrounding towns and villages for VBS and the evangelistic meetings. Now our work is done for this trip, and the days at sea will be filled with worship, testimonies, and reflections on what God has done in these last 6 weeks. Knowing that it will be just a short while until the ship will set out to sea once more, carrying medicine, Bibles, supplies, and workers for the ministry. But most of all, this ship will be carrying hope. Hope for the lost, hope for the sick and the wounded and the broken. This will be our ship of mercy. Help us make it a reality.
God said, go out and tell the whole world, about Christ. And I feel that we really touched a lot of lives, and I know that as much as we were there to help them, it also strengthens my relationship with Christ and my ability to help serve others.